Most people talk to be heard, but leaders talk to be remembered. Learn to command every room with precision, clarity, and the quiet power that moves minds and decisions. Welcome to Command the Room. Speak, listen, and lead with power. In a world overflowing with noise, where attention is a precious currency, your voice is your most potent tool. It's not about being the loudest, it's about being the most impactful. From a casual greeting in the elevator to a critical presentation in the boardroom, the way you communicate shapes every impression, opens every door, and determines your influence long before your resume or credentials ever speak for themselves. You may have brilliant ideas, deep insights, and a powerful vision, but if your words fail to land, they're just whispers in the wind. This isn't about innate charisma. It's a learnable, essential skill that transforms how the world sees and responds to you. This audiobook is your comprehensive guide to unlocking that power. We'll show you how to hone your vocal signature, turning every interaction into an opportunity to lead. You'll discover how to speak with unwavering confidence, eliminating the hesitations and filler words that dilute your message. We'll delve into the science of clarity and rhythm, teaching you to structure your thoughts so they resonate deeply and are impossible to ignore. Beyond speaking, you'll master the art of deep listening, understanding that true influence often comes from making others feel truly heard and valued. We'll equip you with strategies to navigate high-pressure conversations, persuade without manipulation, and craft authentic stories that don't just inform, but inspire action and forge unbreakable connections. Prepare to transform not just how you speak, but how you lead, how you connect, and how you leave a lasting mark. Whether you're aiming to excel in your career, strengthen your relationships, or simply find your authentic voice, this journey will provide direct, actionable skills. You don't need to change who you are. You just need to unleash the powerful communicator that already lies within. The time to command your voice and your world is now. Chapter 1. The Unseen Power. Your voice as your greatest asset. Welcome to Command the Room. Speak, listen, and lead with power. I'm your host, and I am thrilled you're here to embark on a transformative journey. This isn't just another audiobook about talking. This is about unlocking an unseen power you already possess, a power that shapes every interaction, opens every door, and determines how the world truly perceives you. And it all begins with your voice. In our very first chapter, The Unseen Power, Your Voice as Your Greatest Asset, we're going to confront a profound truth. You are not lost because you lack talent. You've simply never been taught how to use your voice as a precision tool, a tool to change the way the world sees you, understands you, and ultimately follows you. Think about it. In countless small yet significant moments, a casual greeting in an elevator, a crucial presentation in a meeting, or even a single opinion spoken in a crowded room, what truly shapes that all-important first impression? Isn't your IQ. It's not your impressive degree. It's the way you speak. Your facial expressions might initially catch someone's eye, but it's your voice that makes people stop and listen or, regrettably, walk away within the first few seconds. This isn't luck, nor is it some inborn charisma reserved for a select few. This is a skill. And like any skill, it can be trained, honed, and mastered. In our fast-paced society, where snap judgments are made in an instant, where you are deemed either credible or forgettable within seconds, speaking intelligently is no longer a bonus. It's a baseline requirement for anyone who seeks to lead, influence, or simply be heard. Imagine this common scenario. You walk into a meeting. You haven't yet opened your file, listed your achievements, or even been asked a question. Yet, within just a few introductory sentences, the person across from you has already made a quiet, subconscious decision. You are either someone worth listening to or someone they can safely disregard. Why is it that some people effortlessly draw every eye the moment they speak, while others, even when they're absolutely right, are routinely ignored. It's because the impactful speakers speak clearly, with structure, and with presence. Not because they're inherently better than you, but because they've consciously trained a skill that many once believed was beyond their reach. This isn't mere theory. Numerous studies, including groundbreaking research from Princeton and Harvard, have conclusively proven that humans form impressions of others within the first 200 milliseconds. That's less than a quarter of a second. This means you don't get a second chance if you lose someone's attention right from the start. Your tone, your clarity, your word choice, all of it forms your unique vocal signature. And that signature either opens doors to opportunities you never even saw coming, or it quietly closes them. Some people mistakenly believe that speaking intelligently means using overly academic words or trying to sound like a perfectly modulated news anchor. This couldn't be further from the truth. Speaking intelligently means speaking accurately, clearly, and most importantly, speaking truthfully, without having to raise your voice. The more confident someone is in their thinking, the less they need to dress it up with flashy words. Their voice carries weight not because of its volume, but because of the depth of meaning, the quiet conviction behind each sentence. Your voice doesn't just deliver information, it delivers emotion. And emotion, far more than facts alone, is what shapes reaction, understanding, and trust. This skill doesn't demand that you change who you fundamentally are, or that you act or imitate anyone else. It requires you to understand how the listener's brain works. They listen because they feel guided, because they sense a clear structure in how you present your ideas, and because they believe you genuinely know what you're talking about and, crucially, why it matters. Neuroscience has shown that humans are not impressed by complex vocabulary. They are drawn to rhythmic clarity, to words that are easy for their minds to process and for their emotions to resonate with. The more coherently, purposefully, and rhythmically you speak, the more the listener's brain perceives you as trustworthy, intelligent, and credible. This isn't just about the art of public speaking, it's a biological reflex. The human brain doesn't seek complexity, it seeks structure. When it hears a steady voice with natural pauses and accessible language, it releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter that creates a sense of pleasure. This is why you instantly like someone the moment they start speaking, or feel uneasy with someone who rambles, speaks too fast, or lacks pauses. It's not the content that people off, it's the way their brain is forced to work too hard to keep up. And in an age where attention is a precious currency, anything that makes the listener work to understand is quickly dismissed. So, how do you begin to cultivate this unseen power within your voice? Here are 3 core principles to start with. Speak a bit slower, not to fill time, but to allow the listener's mind to keep up with your thinking. This deliberate pace signals control and thoughtfulness. Emphasize key words, not to embellish, but to guide attention. A single sentence can have entirely different meanings depending on which words you stress. Use this intentionally to highlight what truly matters. Know when to pause. Silence can sometimes carry more impact than words. A short, well-timed pause after a powerful statement isn't a lack of confidence, it's a strategic choice. It gives your message space to sink in and resonate with the listener. Smart speakers don't clutter conversations with self-promotion. They steer them with clarity. You don't need a genetically gifted voice to be sharp and commanding. You only need to master the art of pausing at the right time, choosing the right words, and conveying the right emotions. You don't have to speak much to be impactful. You just need every sentence you say to serve a clear purpose, to connect, to provoke thought, and to deliver a message others cannot easily ignore. The problem has never been the content you possess, but how effectively you turn it into spoken words. And don't confuse being natural with being careless. Smart communicators don't speak off the cuff. They rehearse. They prepare. They understand that every time they open their mouth, they are creating a new version of themselves in someone else's mind. They don't let opportunities slip away in a string of, like, or I'm not really sure. They respect silence. They know when to speak and, crucially, when to stop. Because they understand that in a noisy world, the ones who master restraint are the ones who truly get heard. Your voice is not just a tool. It is a declaration of your thinking. And you can sharpen it like a sword, soften it like a breeze, or ground it like a rock. But only if you stop believing that you weren't born to speak well and start acting as if this is the survival skill it truly is. At this point, you must ask yourself, if my voice can open doors, create change, and reshape my standing in any conversation, then what reason is left for me to delay training it even one more day? Because once you realize that speaking well is not out of reach but right in your hands, you begin to take control of how others respond to you. You don't need others to hand you credibility. You can build it one word, one sentence, one conversation at a time. This is where your leadership begins. This is where your ability to command the room truly takes root. In the coming chapters, we will delve into the specifics of how to refine your vocal presence, craft messages that resonate, and lead with an authentic, unwavering voice. We'll explore clarity, structure, confidence, and the profound power of listening. But for now, remember this foundational truth. Your voice is your greatest asset. It's time to unleash its unseen power.
Chapter 2. Crafting your vocal signature, tone, clarity, and impact. Welcome back to Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. In our last chapter, Own Every Word You Say, we laid the crucial groundwork, understanding that your words are a direct reflection of who you are, and that true leadership begins when you own your message with unwavering confidence. We learned that every syllable carries weight, and a leader's voice isn't just heard, but remembered. Now, we're going to build on that foundation, moving beyond what you say to how you say it. Because a brilliant idea, spoken hesitantly or unclearly, loses its power. But a simple truth, delivered with conviction and precision, can move mountains. Today, in Chapter 2, we're diving deep into crafting your vocal signature, tone, clarity, and impact. Your vocal signature is more than just the sound of your voice. It's the unique blend of tone, pace, volume, and clarity that makes people stop, listen, and truly understand. It's the difference between being merely present and being truly unforgettable. You're not lost because you lack talent. You've simply never been taught how to use your voice as a tool. And like any tool, it can be sharpened, refined, and wielded with incredible precision. Let's start with clarity, because if people can't understand what you're saying, then it doesn't matter how good your ideas are. Unclear words create unclear minds, and if your message gets lost, so does your influence. Smart communicators understand this deeply. They don't dump information on people and expect them to figure it out. They take full responsibility for making their message crystal clear. How do you achieve this? First, think before you speak. If your thoughts are scattered, your words will be scattered. Take a moment, organize your ideas, and know what you want to say before you open your mouth. Second, simplify and cut the fluff. Too many extra words can water down your point. If you can say it in 5 words, don't use 15. The human brain, as studies from the University of California have shown, processes language more effectively when it's delivered with a steady rhythm and accessible language. Avoid complex jargon and academic phrases under the mistaken belief that they make you sound smarter. Instead, aim for accuracy, truthfulness, and directness. As Albert Einstein famously said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Brilliance in communication lies in expressing deep ideas in simple language. This isn't about dumbing down your message. It's about making it undeniably potent and easy to grasp. Once you've got clarity down, it's time to fine-tune the delivery, your tone, and your pace. These elements convey emotion, build trust, and ultimately determine the impact of your words. Rushed speech often signals anxiety or a lack of confidence. Think about it. When someone speaks too fast, their words run together, and it feels like they're trying to get through it quickly, perhaps because they're unsure. Deliberate pacing, on the other hand, exudes control and thoughtfulness. Neuroscientists at the University of California found that the brain receives language more effectively when it's delivered with steady rhythm and well-placed pauses. Actionable step: practice the pause power. After making a key point, introduce a 3 to 5 second silence. This isn't a lack of confidence, it's a strategic choice. A well-timed silence makes the listener stop, process, and feel the weight of what was just said. Martin Luther King's dream is a masterclass in this. His pauses weren't accidental. They were carefully placed to build tension and allow his powerful words to sink in. This pause power increases message retention and signals to your audience that your words are worth reflecting upon. Your tone is the outer layer that wraps your message. It's your attitude made audible. The sentence, "I'm fine," can have 10 different meanings depending on whether it's said in a deep, slow voice conveying certainty or a high, quick tone carrying anxiety. Your voice doesn't just deliver information, it delivers emotion, and emotion is what shapes reaction. To master your tone, regulate your volume. Find a volume that's not too loud or too soft. You want to be present without being overbearing. Smart communicators know how to gently emphasize key words to guide the listener's brain exactly where they want it, like a guide pointing the way without needing to push. Avoid uptalk. This is the habit of ending sentences with a rising inflection, making statements sound like questions. This unintentionally undermines your authority. Confident communicators gently lower their tone at the end of a sentence as if placing a period on something they've already validated. This signals certainty and asks no permission. Practice diaphragmatic breathing. Before an important moment, take a few deep breaths from your belly. This stabilizes your voice and projects a sense of calm and control. Your voice is a direct channel of emotion into another person's nervous system. You can't inspire trust if your voice is shaky, but if you regulate your breathing, your voice will stabilize and listeners will sense your presence. Monotony kills engagement. If every sentence sounds the same, listeners will tune out. Vocal variety means modulating your pitch, volume, and pace to keep your audience captivated. Think of it as creating music in your communication, something that pleases the brain and opens the heart. Emphasize key words. A single sentence can have entirely different meanings depending on which words you stress. For example, "I never said she took the money" has a different implication than "I never said she took the money." By intentionally emphasizing specific words, you guide the listener's attention and shape their perception. This isn't about sounding like a news anchor. It's about conveying depth of meaning behind each sentence and ensuring your core message stands out. Ultimately, crafting your vocal signature isn't about imitating anyone else. It's about finding your unique rhythm and voice, one that is aligned with who you truly are. As we discussed in Chapter 1, authenticity is paramount. When your words are rooted in genuine belief, your vocal delivery naturally carries more conviction. Tone, clarity, and word choice all form your vocal signature, and that signature either opens doors or quietly closes opportunities you never even saw coming. Remember, your voice is a declaration of your thinking. You can sharpen it like a sword, soften it like a breeze, or ground it like a rock. But only if you stop believing that you weren't born to speak well and start acting as if this is a survival skill. Because it is. When your voice is clean, with clear emphasis and emotion conveyed correctly, you no longer need to prove anything. Your voice itself becomes the reason people believe in you. To integrate these skills into your daily communication, here are 3 core principles to start with. Speak a bit slower. not to fill time, but to allow the listener to keep up with your thinking and for your words to carry weight. Emphasize P words, not to embellish, but to guide attention and ensure your most important points land. Know when to pause, because silence can sometimes carry more impact than words. These skills aren't built overnight. You don't need to wait for a stage to perform. Train in the smallest moments: greetings, feedback, self-introductions. Record yourself speaking in meetings or just explaining an idea to someone. Then listen back, not to criticize, but to identify. Which words do you repeat unnecessarily? Which phrases drag on out of fear of silence? Only when you hear how you sound can you start shaping how you truly want to speak. This constant self-awareness and practice will transform your communication. By consciously crafting your vocal signature, you're not just improving how you sound, you're fundamentally enhancing your ability to connect, persuade, and lead. Your voice becomes a powerful instrument that commands attention and inspires action. In the next chapter, Control Your Voice Before You Try to Lead, we'll explore how to maintain this vocal mastery even in high-pressure situations, managing your emotional state and using your voice to project unwavering confidence regardless of external challenges. Because before anyone will follow you, they will first listen to you, and they will judge your voice, not your accent, not your vocabulary, but the presence, the energy, and the control behind it. Get ready to truly command the room. Chapter 3. The Simplicity Advantage: Speaking Clearly, Not Complicatedly. Welcome back to Command the Room. Speak, listen, and leave with power. In our previous chapters, we laid crucial groundwork. In Chapter 1, we explored the power of owning every word you say with full confidence, understanding that leadership begins when you truly stand behind your message. In Chapter 2, we took a deep dive into speaking clearly, ensuring no one misunderstands your message, because an unclear message is a lost opportunity to influence. Now, in Chapter 3, we build on that foundation by revealing a potent secret that elevates clarity and supercharges confidence. The Simplicity Advantage: Speaking clearly, not complicatedly. You might own your words, and you might aim for clarity, but if those words are wrapped in unnecessary complexity, they lose their punch. They become walls instead of bridges, pushing your audience away rather than drawing them in. Think about the leaders, speakers, and inspirational figures you admire most. Do they use academic jargon and convoluted sentences? Or do they express profound ideas in language that resonates instantly, intuitively, and powerfully? The answer, almost without exception, is the latter. They understand that brilliance in communication doesn't lie in how many complex terms you can use, but in the ability to express deep ideas in simple language. This isn't just a skill, it's the pinnacle of intelligence. Many of us fall into the trap of believing that using big, elaborate words makes us sound smarter or more authoritative. We might pepper our speech with industry jargon or academic phrases, hoping to impress. But what often happens instead is the opposite. We alienate our listeners. Neuroscience has shown that the human brain is not impressed by complex vocabulary. Instead, it's drawn to rhythmic clarity, to words that are easy for the mind to process and for emotions to resonate with. The more coherent, purposeful, and rhythmic you speak, the more the listener's brain perceives you as trustworthy, intelligent, and credible. Consider a common scenario. A colleague presents a new project strategy. They say, "We need to operationalize our synergistic outreach initiatives to maximize market penetration across key demographic stratifications." You nod, perhaps, but inside, your brain is working overtime trying to untangle the meaning. Compare that to someone who says, "We need to work together to reach more of our ideal customers." Same meaning, drastically different impact. The truth is, anything that makes the listener work too hard to understand is quickly dismissed. In a fast-paced world where attention is a precious currency,
forcing your audience to decipher your message is a sure way to lose them. Your brilliant idea, if shrouded in a fog of complicated language, will be misunderstood as lacking value. As Albert Einstein famously put it, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Simple language isn't lazy. It demands sharper thinking, more refined choices, and the discipline to strip away anything unnecessary, much like a sculptor chisels away excess to reveal a masterpiece. Smart communicators don't use words to show how much they know. They use words to help others understand what truly matters. They recognize that their job isn't to impress, but to convey. And in doing so, they leave a lasting impression that no intellectual display ever could. When you speak simply, you aren't diluting your message, you're purifying it, making it more accessible, more memorable, and ultimately more powerful. This ease of processing creates a sense of pleasure in the listener's brain, fostering connection and trust. Let's shift from theory to action. Here are practical steps you can take, starting today, to embrace the simplicity advantage. Start by becoming aware of your current speaking habits. Record yourself during a meeting, a phone call, or even explaining an idea to a friend. Listen back, not to criticize, but to identify. Do you overuse specialized jargon? Do you use long, convoluted phrases when a short, direct one would suffice? Are you filling silences with like, or you know, because you're still forming your thoughts, or because you're over-explaining? Before you speak, pause for a moment and ask yourself, is there a shorter, simpler way to say this without losing meaning? This simple question acts as a powerful filter. For example, instead of saying, I would like to express my personal perspective on the topic under discussion, try, I have a thought to share. Instead of, from a long-term strategic organizational standpoint, say, in the long run. You're not sacrificing professionalism, you're making your words more accessible and memorable. Weak language often hides behind passive constructions and noun phrases. Power up your message with strong, direct verbs. Instead of saying, he made a decision, say, he decided. Rather than, she proceeded to provide assistance, say, she helped. Every time you cut an unnecessary word, you sharpen your message and add impact. Before a crucial conversation or presentation, imagine explaining your core idea to a curious 10-year-old. If you can't make them understand it easily, it's not because they lack intelligence, but because you lack clarity and simplicity in your explanation. This mental exercise forces you to break down complex ideas into their most fundamental, understandable components. In a previous role, I once observed a brilliant engineer try to explain a critical system upgrade. He was incredibly knowledgeable, but he flooded the room with technical details and highly specialized terms. The senior leadership, though polite, visibly disengaged. Later, a colleague summarized the engineer's point in just 2 sentences. The old system is unstable and will fail. The new system is secure, faster, and will save us money. That simple summary, devoid of jargon, immediately garnered attention and approval. The engineer's detailed explanations were valuable, but they needed to follow a clear, simple core message, not precede it. Simplicity isn't about dumbing down your message. It's about amplifying its reach and impact. It makes you easier to understand, easier to trust, and easier to remember. In a world overwhelmed by information, clarity makes people pause. And the person who can express something profound in humble words holds a quiet kind of power, the power of true understanding. By consistently applying the simplicity advantage, you'll find that your words carry greater weight, your messages resonate more deeply, and your influence expands effortlessly. You'll be honoring the wisdom from our earlier chapters, owning your words with confidence and speaking clearly, but now with an added layer of strategic finesse. But simple words alone aren't enough to command a room. They need to be arranged, organized, and delivered with intention. In our next chapter, we'll explore precisely that, the power of structure, organizing your thoughts for maximum impact. We'll learn how to take your clear, simple messages and arrange them into unforgettable narratives and arguments that guide your listeners' minds and stir their emotions. Get ready to build your words into a fortress of influence. Welcome back to Command the Room. Speak, listen, and lead with power. In our previous chapters, we laid crucial groundwork. In Chapter 1, we explored the power of owning every word you say with full confidence, understanding that leadership begins when you truly stand behind your message. In Chapter 2, we took a deep dive into speaking clearly, ensuring no one misunderstands your message, because an unclear message is a lost opportunity to influence. Now, in Chapter 3, we build on that foundation by revealing a potent secret that elevates clarity and supercharges confidence: the simplicity advantage, speaking clearly, not complicatedly. You might own your words, and you might aim for clarity, but if those words are wrapped in unnecessary complexity, they lose their punch. They become walls instead of bridges, pushing your audience away rather than drawing them in. Think about the leaders, speakers, and inspirational figures you admire most. Do they use academic jargon and convoluted sentences? Or do they express profound ideas in language that resonates instantly, intuitively, and powerfully? The answer, almost without exception, is the latter. They understand that brilliance in communication doesn't lie in how many complex terms you can use, but in the ability to express deep ideas in simple language. This isn't just a skill, it's the pinnacle of intelligence. Many of us fall into the trap of believing that using big, elaborate words makes us sound smarter or more authoritative. We might pepper our speech with industry jargon or academic phrases, hoping to impress. But what often happens instead is the opposite. We alienate our listeners. Neuroscience has shown that the human brain is not impressed by complex vocabulary. Instead, it's drawn to rhythmic clarity, to words that are easy for the mind to process and for emotions to resonate with. The more coherent, purposeful, and rhythmic you speak, the more the listener's brain perceives you as trustworthy, intelligent, and credible. Consider a common scenario. A colleague presents a new project strategy. They say, "We need to operationalize our synergistic outreach initiatives to maximize market penetration across key demographic stratifications." You nod, perhaps, but inside, your brain is working overtime trying to untangle the meaning. Compare that to someone who says, "We need to work together to reach more of our ideal customers." Same meaning, drastically different impact. The truth is, anything that makes the listener work too hard to understand is quickly dismissed. In a fast-paced world where attention is a precious currency, forcing your audience to decipher your message is a sure way to lose them. Your brilliant idea, if shrouded in a fog of complicated language, will be misunderstood as lacking value. As Albert Einstein famously put it, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Simple language isn't lazy. It demands sharper thinking, more refined choices, and the discipline to strip away anything unnecessary. Much like a sculptor chisels away excess to reveal a masterpiece. Smart communicators don't use words to show how much they know. They use words to help others understand what truly matters. They recognize that their job isn't to impress, but to convey. And in doing so, they leave a lasting impression that no intellectual display ever could. When you speak simply, you aren't diluting your message, you're purifying it, making it more accessible, more memorable, and ultimately more powerful. This ease of processing creates a sense of pleasure in the listener's brain, fostering connection and trust. Let's shift from theory to action. Here are practical steps you can take starting today to embrace the simplicity advantage. Start by becoming aware of your current speaking habits. Record yourself during a meeting, a phone call, or even explaining an idea to a friend. Listen back not to criticize, but to identify. Do you overuse specialized jargon? Do you use long, convoluted phrases when a short, direct one would suffice? Are you filling silences with like, or you know, because you're still forming your thoughts, or because you're over-explaining? Before you speak, pause for a moment and ask yourself,
Is there a shorter, simpler way to say this without losing meaning? This simple question acts as a powerful filter. For example, instead of saying, "I would like to express my personal perspective on the topic under discussion," try, "I have a thought to share." Instead of, "From a long-term strategic organizational standpoint," say, "In the long run." You're not sacrificing professionalism, you're making your words more accessible and memorable. Weak language often hides behind passive constructions and noun phrases. Power up your message with strong, direct verbs. Instead of saying, "He made a decision," say, "He decided." Rather than, "She proceeded to provide assistance," say, "She helped." Every time you cut an unnecessary word, you sharpen your message and add impact. Before a crucial conversation or presentation, imagine explaining your poor idea to a curious 10-year-old. If you can't make them understand it easily, it's not because they lack intelligence, but because you lack clarity and simplicity in your explanation. This mental exercise forces you to break down complex ideas into their most fundamental, understandable components. In a previous role, I once observed a brilliant engineer try to explain a critical system upgrade. He was incredibly knowledgeable, but he flooded the room with technical details and highly specialized terms. The senior leadership, though polite, visibly disengaged. Later, a colleague summarized the engineer's point in just 2 sentences. "The old system is unstable and will fail. The new system is secure, faster, and will save us money." That simple summary, devoid of jargon, immediately garnered attention and approval. The engineer's detailed explanations were valuable, but they needed to follow a clear, simple core message, not precede it. Simplicity isn't about dumbing down your message. It's about amplifying its reach and impact. It makes you easier to understand, easier to trust, and easier to remember. In a world overwhelmed by information, clarity makes people pause. And the person who can express something profound in humble words holds a quiet kind of power, the power of true understanding. By consistently applying the simplicity advantage, you'll find that your words carry greater weight, your messages resonate more deeply, and your influence expands effortlessly. You'll be honoring the wisdom from our earlier chapters, owning your words with confidence and speaking clearly, but now with an added layer of strategic finesse. But simple words alone aren't enough to command a room. They need to be arranged, organized, and delivered with intention. In our next chapter, we'll explore precisely that, the power of structure, organizing your thoughts for maximum impact. We'll learn how to take your clear, simple messages and arrange them into unforgettable narratives and arguments that guide your listeners' minds and stir their emotions. Get ready to build your words into a fortress of influence.
Chapter 4. Structure for Influence, Guiding Thought with Logic and Flow. Welcome back to Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. This is Chapter 4, Structure for Influence, Guiding Thought with Logic and Flow. In our journey so far, we've laid crucial groundwork. In Chapter 1, we explored how to own every word you say, building confidence and taking responsibility for your message. Chapter 2 sharpened our focus on speaking clearly so no one misunderstands your message, emphasizing simplicity and directness. And in Chapter 3, we mastered how to control your voice before you try to lead, regulating our tone, volume, and emotional state to project calm authority. Now, it's time to put those powerful, clear, and controlled words into a framework that makes them unforgettable. Imagine you're building a magnificent house. You might have the best materials, your words, skilled hands, your voice control, and a clear vision, your confidence. But without a strong blueprint, a logical sequence of construction, and a solid foundation, that house will never stand tall. Your message is no different. This chapter is your blueprint. It's about how to organize your thoughts and language into a coherent structure that guides your listener's brain, making your ideas not just heard, but deeply understood and acted upon.
Without structure, even the most brilliant idea can become a jumbled mess, leaving your audience confused and disengaged. Think of it. A brilliant idea, when spoken hesitantly, vaguely, or without direction, will be misunderstood as lacking value. Meanwhile, a simple thought, if delivered with confidence and clarity and structure, can shift the decision of an entire room. The human brain is a magnificent processor, but it's also a busy one. In a fast-paced world, where attention is a precious currency, anything that makes the listener work too hard to understand your message is quickly dismissed. Neuroscientists at the University of California found that the brain receives language more effectively when it's delivered with steady rhythm, natural intonation, and, crucially, a clear structure. Your brain doesn't seek complexity, it seeks order. When it perceives a clear beginning, middle, and end, it experiences a sense of completeness and ease. This is why you instantly feel comfortable with someone who speaks with flow, and uneasy with someone who rambles or jumps between topics. Coherently, purposefully, and rhythmically delivered speech causes the listener's brain to release dopamine, the neurotransmitter that creates a sense of pleasure and trust. That's a biological reflex, not just an art. So, when you bring structure to your communication, you're not just being professional, you're making your message biologically appealing. Smart speakers don't clutter conversations with self-promotion. They steer them with clarity. Your mission is to make it easy for your listener to follow your thought process, to feel guided, and to believe you know what you're talking about and why it matters. This isn't about being rigid. It's about providing the skeleton that allows you to be flexible without losing control, keeping you from rambling, repeating yourself, or losing your way mid-sentence. The simplest yet most effective model for organizing any message is the introduction, body, conclusion framework. It's tried and true, used by presidents in speeches, CEOs in strategic summits, and lawyers in court, because it aligns perfectly with how the brain processes information for completeness, logic, and memorability. This is where you hook your audience and tell them what's coming. Imagine walking into a movie without knowing the genre or the main characters. An effective introduction briefly outlines your topic, sets expectations, and gives your listener a reason to care. You might start with a compelling question, a startling statistic, or a relatable anecdote. Then clearly state your main point or the objective of your communication. For instance, instead of just starting a meeting, you might say, "Good morning, everyone. Today, we're going to dive into our Q3 performance, specifically focusing on 3 key areas: our sales growth, operational efficiencies, and upcoming marketing initiatives, all aimed at our ultimate goal of 20% market expansion." This is where you elaborate on your main points. Each point should be distinct, supported by evidence, examples, or anecdotes, and flow logically from one to the next. Avoid dumping all your information at once. Instead, build your argument step by step. If you have multiple points, consider grouping them or presenting them in a sequence that makes sense: chronological, by importance, or problem solution. As the knowledge base suggests, the more coherently, purposefully, and rhythmically you speak, the more the listener's brain perceives you as trustworthy, intelligent, and credible. The conclusion isn't just about stopping, it's about landing your message. Reiterate your key takeaways, briefly summarizing what you've covered. This helps solidify the information in your listener's mind. Finally, if appropriate, and with a clear call to action or a thought-provoking statement that leaves a lasting impression. Don't leave your message hanging. Land it with clear emphasis. For instance, after discussing the Q3 performance, you might conclude, "So, to recap, our Q3 saw strong sales, improved efficiencies, and a clear path for marketing. Moving forward, my ask is that each team member identifies one actionable step to support our market expansion by Friday. Together, we can achieve this."
When asked, "What does leadership mean to you?" a messy response would be forgotten.
But using this framework, leadership isn't a title, it's influence. A true leader listens, leads by example, and inspires through consistency. To me, leadership lies not in position, but in the values you pass on. Clear, concise, impactful structure achieves what 10 messy sentences cannot. It turns an idea into a message with weight. Beyond the basic IBC, several techniques can supercharge your message's flow and memorability. 1. The rule of 3, your brain's favorite number. The human mind is inherently drawn to groups of 3. Not too few to be vague, not too many to overwhelm. 3 points feel solid, complete, and rarely provoke skepticism. Think of famous examples: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Stop, look, and listen. This technique instantly adds gravitas and memorability. For instance, when presenting an idea, say, "I believe this idea has potential for 3 reasons. It cuts costs, it scales easily, and there's real data proving its success." You're not just being clear, you're giving the listener a sense of certainty. 2. Signposts and transitions, guiding your listener. These are verbal cues that tell your audience where you're going next. Phrases like, "First, let's consider," "moving on to," "however, there's another perspective," "in summary," or "this matters because," create a mental map for your listener. They prevent confusion and keep your audience engaged because they know what to expect. Think of them as the highway signs on your communication journey. The listener doesn't have to guess what you're talking about. You lead them step by step, and that's how you keep them with you until the very end. 3. Storytelling, a glimpse of future power. While we'll dedicate an entire future chapter to this powerful tool, it's important to recognize that storytelling is inherently a structural device. A well-told, concise story with a clear beginning, middle, and end can convey complex ideas and evoke emotion far more effectively than data alone. Stories make your message sticky and relatable, allowing your listener to see themselves, connect emotionally, and enter a space of empathy. Just remember, a story only works if it's tightly connected to the message. You don't tell stories for the sake of telling. You tell them to lead into a lesson of value and action. Mastering structure isn't about memorizing rules. It's about training your mind to think in an organized way. Here's how you can start today. Before any conversation, email, or meeting, take 30 seconds to mentally or quickly jot down 3 things. What's my core point? What are 2 to 3 supporting ideas or pieces of evidence? What's the desired outcome or action? This simple habit will dramatically reduce rambling and increase your impact. As smart communicators know, they rehearse, they prepare, they understand that every time they open their mouth, they're creating a new version of themselves in someone else's mind. Don't just talk, practice organizing your thoughts. When explaining a complex concept to a colleague, a client, or even a child, consciously use the IBC framework or the rule of 3. You don't wait for a stage to perform. You train in the smallest moments and greetings and feedback and self-introductions because you know that great communicators don't wait for opportunities, they create them with their own voice. Record yourself during meetings or when explaining an idea. Listen back, not to criticize, but to identify moments where you rambled, repeated yourself, or lost the thread. Where could you have added a signpost? Where could you have been more concise? This self-awareness is crucial for growth. Structure isn't about complex vocabulary, it's about making profound ideas accessible. As Albert Einstein famously said, if you can't explain it simply, you don't understand it well enough. Challenge yourself to use clear, direct words that hit hard. Every time you cut an unnecessary word, you sharpen your message and enhance its flow. The concepts from previous chapters are magnified by structure. Your newfound confidence from Chapter 1 will shine brighter when delivered with a clear roadmap. The clarity you cultivated in Chapter 2 will be easier to follow when presented logically. And the controlled voice you developed in Chapter 3 will deliver your structured message with maximum impact, utilizing pauses for emphasis and tone for guidance. By applying structure, you're not just improving your skill, you're building the habit of ordered thinking. And this habit will elevate every conversation you have, allowing you to lead others thinking with each clear, deliberate step. In a noisy world, the one who speaks with clarity and purpose will always hold the advantage, because they don't just transmit information, they inspire others to take action. As you move forward, remember that structure provides the robust framework for your message. In our next chapter, Chapter 5, we will explore use strong words that build respect and attention. There, we will discover how to select precise, impactful language that fills your well-crafted structure, turning your blueprint into a compelling, influential masterpiece. Get ready to give your words the power they deserve. Chapter 5. From Hesitation to Authority, Building Your Confident Voice. Welcome back to Command the Room. In our previous chapters, we've explored the foundational elements of powerful communication: owning your words, speaking with crystal clear clarity, and controlling your voice to lead with purpose. We established that your voice isn't just a sound, it's a declaration of your thinking. It's the primary tool to shape how the world sees you, making the difference between being credible or forgettable. Today, we tackle a pivotal shift. We're moving from the passive act of having a voice to the active pursuit of embodying authority with it. This is Chapter 5, From Hesitation to Authority, Building Your Confident Voice. Think about the leaders, speakers, and inspirational figures you've ever admired. They don't recite lines, they tell stories. They don't lecture, they lead thoughts. They don't scream to command attention, they just speak, and the world falls quiet to listen. This isn't luck or inborn charisma. It's a skill, and skills can be trained. And it starts with transforming hesitation into unshakable authority. Most of us have been there. A brilliant idea bubbling in your mind, a crucial point to make, but when it's your turn to speak, your voice falters. You hear yourself using phrases like, "I just think that," "this might sound silly, but," or "I'm not entirely sure, but." These aren't just verbal tics, they're symptoms of internal uncertainty. You're inadvertently apologizing for your presence, lowering your value before anyone even has a chance to respond. You're giving your power away word by word. People often assume confidence is something you're born with, a random gift reserved for a select few, as if some are naturally able to stand firm in a crowd, speak fluently without trembling, or voice opinions even in the face of doubt. But in reality, confidence isn't a random gift. It's the result of conscious repetition. It's forged bit by bit through disciplined action, facing your own inner fears, and choosing to move forward even when certainty is absent. Neuroscience has shown that humans form impressions of others within the first 200 milliseconds of hearing their voice. This means you don't get a second chance if you lose someone's attention right from the start. A brilliant idea, when spoken hesitantly, vaguely, or without direction, will be misunderstood as lacking value. Meanwhile, a simple thought, if delivered with confidence and clarity, can shift the decision of an entire room. How does hesitation manifest in your voice? Beyond the weak openers, listen for these common culprits. The problem has never been the content you have, but how you turn it into spoken words. Your voice doesn't just deliver information, it delivers emotion, and emotion shapes reaction. Building a confident voice starts long before you open your mouth. It begins with a profound internal shift. 1. Own your message and belief. Confidence starts when you stop second-guessing yourself and start taking full responsibility for every word that comes out of your mouth. As we discussed in Chapter 1, own every word you say with full confidence. The more confident someone is in their thinking, the less they need to dress it up with flashy words. Their voice carries weight not because of its volume, but because of the depth of meaning behind each sentence. You don't need others to hand you credibility. You can build it one word, one sentence, one conversation at a time. 2. Visualization, your mental rehearsal. A powerful tool for cultivating confidence is visualization. Before a crucial moment, take a few minutes to close your eyes and imagine yourself speaking clearly, calmly, with impact. Feel your body standing firm, your voice steady, your eye contact unwavering. Feel the gaze of others listening attentively. Visualization isn't daydreaming. It's how you rewire your nervous system, helping it perform better in reality. The brain doesn't strongly differentiate between vivid imagination and lived experience. If you see yourself succeed enough times in your mind, your body will begin to act as if it's already familiar. 3. Embrace discomfort. Action over perfection. You don't need to feel strong before you speak. It's speaking while you're still trembling that actually makes you strong. Act like a confident person, and you become one. All expansion comes with tension, but those with resolve don't retreat because of it. They keep going and let their action redefine who they are. Self-belief cannot be borrowed. It must be built from within. Every time you dare to speak up for what you believe is right, even if your voice isn't perfect, you're reinforcing the foundation of your real presence. Once you've cultivated the internal readiness, it's time to refine the physical delivery of your voice. 1. Pace and pauses, the power of silence. Rushing doesn't create inspiration. Calmness makes people stop and pay attention. People who speak slightly slower with intentional intonation and timely pauses are perceived as more intelligent and trustworthy. Smart communicators know that silence isn't a weakness. It's a signal of control. A 1-second pause before answering makes the listener feel you're thinking. A pause after a strong sentence doubles its impact. A well-timed silence is the weapon of the smart communicator. It forces the brain to pause and process, and that is what it remembers.
2. Tone and volume, intentional delivery. Your voice is a direct channel of emotion into the other person's nervous system. Tone is the outer layer that wraps your message. The sentence, "I'm fine," can have 10 different meanings depending on the tone. Smart communicators know how to choose a volume that's not too loud or too soft, just enough to be present without being overbearing. They know how to gently emphasize key words to guide the listener's brain exactly where they want it. 3. Breath control, anchoring your voice. A deep, steady breath makes listeners feel safe. If you know how to regulate your breathing, your voice will stabilize. Before every important conversation, meeting, or decision, center yourself. Breathe deeply, slow everything down internally, and then speak. This intentional breathing helps ground your voice, projecting calm and steadiness even when you feel nervous. Beyond how your voice sounds, the words you choose directly influence how authoritative you appear. 1. Eliminate weak openers and fillers. Stop diluting your message with phrases like, "I just have a quick point to add," or "I'm not an expert, but." The latter immediately cuts your authority in half. Instead, embrace strong, direct openers that anchor your presence through words. For example, instead of, "I think maybe we could try," say, "I suggest we try this approach." Instead of, "I just wanted to share something," say, "I propose we try a different approach, here's why." When you begin a sentence with certainty, listeners are more likely to believe what you're about to say, even before hearing it. 2. Be concise, less is more. The more confident someone is in their thinking, the less they need to dress it up with flashy words. You don't have to speak much to be impactful. You just need every sentence you say to serve a clear purpose, to connect, to provoke thought, and to deliver a message others cannot easily ignore. Smart communicators don't use words to show how much they know, they use words to help others understand what truly matters. Brilliance in communication doesn't lie in how many complex terms you can use, but in the ability to express deep ideas in simple language. Here's how to put these principles into practice. It's time to stop using language as a shield and start using it as a mirror reflecting the clarity of your thinking. Let every sentence stand upright, not leaning on fillers, not dodging, not asking for permission. Because in the end, not everyone has a brilliant idea, but everyone has the right to have their idea heard, as long as they don't weaken it with their own words. By transforming hesitation into authority, you're not just changing how you speak, you're changing how you lead. In our next chapter, we'll delve into holding your ground, speaking with unshakable conviction.
We'll explore how to maintain that confident voice even when facing pushback, criticism, or disagreement, ensuring your message stands strong regardless of external pressures. Chapter 6: The Power of Pause, Mastering Silence and Timely Responses. Welcome to Chapter 6 of Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. In our last chapter, we delved into the art of using strong words that build respect and command attention. We learned that impactful communication isn't about using flashy jargon, but about choosing words that are precise, clear, and carry genuine weight. But even the most potent words can fall flat if they lack the right delivery. Today, we're going to uncover one of the most underestimated tools in a leader's communication arsenal: the power of pause. This chapter is titled, The Power of Pause, Mastering Silence and Timely Responses. In a world that constantly bombards us with noise and demands instant gratification, silence often feels like an absence, a void to be filled. Yet, for the masterful communicator, a pause is not an empty space. It's a strategic weapon. It's the silent amplifier that gives your words room to breathe, to land, and to resonate deeply within the listener's mind. Think about it. When someone speaks too fast, rambling, and filling every microsecond with sound, your brain is forced to work harder, trying to keep up. Neuroscientists have shown that the human brain doesn't seek complexity, it seeks structure. When it encounters a steady voice with natural, well-placed pauses, it releases dopamine, the neurotransmitter that creates a sense of pleasure. This is why you instantly gravitate towards speakers who allow their message space, and why you feel uneasy with those who rush or lack pauses. Consider the leaders or speakers you most admire. Did they rush through their most profound statements? Unlikely. Figures like Martin Luther King Jr. masterfully used pauses not because they were hesitant, but because they wanted you to feel the weight of what was just said. A short pause after a powerful statement isn't a lack of confidence, it's strategy. It gives your message space to sink in. It forces the brain to pause and process, and what the brain is forced to process, that is what it remembers. The power of pause extends beyond simply adding gravitas to your words. It's a cornerstone of what makes you appear credible, intelligent, and trustworthy. When you confidently embrace a moment of silence, you signal control. Control over your thoughts, control over your emotions, and control over the conversation. As we explored in Chapter 1, Own Every Word You Say, confidence isn't about being loud. It's about believing in your words and standing behind them. Pauses are a physical manifestation of that belief. They convey that you're not guessing your way through life or your conversation. You've made decisions, you've built beliefs, and you speak from experience, not just opinion. There are several types of strategic pauses, each with its unique purpose. First, there's the anticipatory pause. This is the silence before a crucial point or a significant reveal. It builds suspense, draws the listener in, and prepares them for something important. Imagine saying, "Our next step is critical." Pause. We need to pivot our entire strategy. That brief moment of silence heightens the impact of pivot. Then we have the emphatic pause, which comes after a strong statement. This pause allows your powerful words, those we discussed in the previous chapter, to land and reverberate. For example, "This is non-negotiable." Pause. Our commitment to quality must be absolute. The pause after non-negotiable underscores its finality and importance, letting it sink into the listener's mind without being immediately diluted by the next sentence. Finally, there's the reflective or processing pause. This is a brief silence either for you to gather your thoughts or to allow your audience to consider what you've said. When a question is asked, instead of blurting out the first thing that comes to mind or filling the space with and a deliberate pause conveys thoughtfulness. It shows respect for the question and the person asking it. It tells them, "I am considering your words carefully before I respond." This is crucial for timely responses. Mastering timely responses is not about being quick, it's about being effective. Many people fear silence and rush to fill every pause. This often leads to impulsive, unrefined, or even defensive reactions. But a leader understands that the space created by a pause is an opportunity. It allows you to shift from reacting instinctively to responding with awareness. If someone criticizes you, instead of immediately becoming defensive, you can pause, take a breath, and then ask, "I want to understand what specifically is upsetting you." This simple, calm question, delivered after a pause, can diffuse tension, gather crucial information, and steer the conversation toward mutual understanding rather than conflict. Neuroscientists at the University of California found that language is received more effectively when delivered with steady rhythm, natural intonation, and well-placed pauses. This explains why top TED Talks are never rushed. The speaker controls not just the pace, but the emotional flow. They know when to pause, not because they're hesitant, but because they want you to feel the weight of what was just said. So, how do you cultivate this power of pause? Here are a few actionable steps. Practice the breath as the first word. As communication expert Jefferson Fisher advises, before you speak, let your breath be the first word. Inhale deliberately, then speak. This simple act slows you down, helps you gather your thoughts, and gives your voice a grounded, steady quality. It combats the urge to rush and fill the space.
Use your phone to record your conversations, presentations, or even just explaining an idea to yourself. Listen back. Are there places where a pause could have added more impact or clarity? Do you use filler words excessively? Identifying these patterns is the first step to changing them. Aim to replace like, or you know with a confident silence. Embrace the 2-second rule. Before responding to a question or making a new point, consciously pause for at least 2 seconds. This short delay gives your brain time to formulate a clear, concise thought, allowing you to speak with purpose rather than just to fill the void. Observe others. Pay attention to effective speakers around you. Notice how they use pauses. When do they pause? How long do they hold it? What effect does it have on you as a listener? Learn from their deliberate use of silence. Remember, people who lack confidence fear silence. Those with presence use it as part of their language. When you master the pause, you're not just improving your speaking technique. You're building a habit of ordered thinking and emotional regulation. You're becoming a speaker who is not only heard, but remembered because your message is given the space and respect it deserves. The ability to strategically pause and deliver timely, thoughtful responses is also foundational for the challenges we'll discuss in our next chapter. Hold your ground when others try to shake you. When faced with pressure, criticism, or disagreement, your capacity to pause, maintain your composure, and respond deliberately will be your greatest asset. It shows strength, not weakness, and it allows you to remain anchored in your message, even when the environment tries to pull you off course. Prepare to learn how to stand firm, not by shouting, but by the quiet power of your presence. Embrace the pause. It is in these moments of stillness that true leadership emerges, allowing your words to resonate with greater depth, clarity, and undeniable power. It is not just about what you say, but the respect and space you give your message to land.
Chapter 7. Beyond Words, Active Listening and Empathetic Connection. Welcome to Chapter 7 of Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. In our journey so far, we've explored how to sharpen your voice, command attention, and convey your message with confidence and clarity. We've delved into the power of strong words, concise delivery, and holding your ground. But true command isn't just about speaking, it's about connecting. And often, the most powerful communication happens not when you're speaking, but when you're listening. Today, we move beyond words, exploring the transformative power of active listening and empathetic connection. While your voice is a potent tool for declaration, your ears are your ultimate instruments for understanding. As the wisdom in our knowledge base reminds us, smart communicators don't use words to show how much they know. They use words to help others understand what truly matters. And that understanding begins with deep listening. Most people talk to be heard, Leaders listen to understand, and through understanding, they are remembered. Think about the leaders, mentors, or even friends you trust most. Are they the ones who always have the floor, or the ones who truly seem to get you? The answer is almost always the latter. This isn't just anecdotal, there's a biological basis for it. The human brain, as neuroscientists have shown, doesn't seek complexity, it seeks structure and safety. When someone feels truly heard, their brain releases dopamine, creating a sense of pleasure and trust. That's a connection far more profound than any impressive speech could forge. Listening is not passive silence. It is a deep form of presence where you set aside your ego, suspend the urge to reply, and make space to truly understand what's unfolding within the person in front of you. This unspoken empathy earns you more respect than any sharp argument ever could. People often admire good speakers, but in reality, they trust good listeners. When you listen well, you're not just receiving information, you're sending a powerful message. I see you. I understand you. I'm not here to win, I'm here to connect. This sense of safety is what every human seeks in communication. Active listening is a skill, and like any skill we've discussed in previous chapters, it can be trained and mastered. It involves several key components. Empathetic connection goes a step further than active listening. It's not just understanding what someone is saying, but how they feel and why they feel it. It's stepping into their shoes, even if briefly. Imagine a colleague comes to you clearly frustrated about a recent project setback. A less empathetic response might be, "Don't worry, we'll fix it," or immediately diving into problem solving. While well-intentioned, it bypasses their emotional state. An empathetic response, however, would leverage what we learned from our Chapter 1 discussion on empathy, the silent amplifier. You might say, "I sense this setback is really weighing on you. I hear you. That must be a lot to deal with." This validates their emotions, showing you acknowledge their experience before rushing to solutions. This subtle mirroring of emotions and acknowledging their feelings builds deep rapport and makes them feel truly supported. Another powerful technique from Jefferson Fisher is to separate the person from the problem. Instead of saying, "Your presentation wasn't great," which attacks the person, you might say, "The presentation could benefit from a few changes." Or in a home setting, instead of "Your room is a mess," try "The room isn't clean. What should we do about it?" This approach makes the problem a shared challenge, fostering collaboration rather than defensiveness. I once worked with a rising star, Sarah, who was brilliant at presenting her ideas. She had a commanding voice, impeccable clarity, and a strong presence, qualities she'd honed diligently through the principles we've discussed. Yet she struggled to build lasting alliances within her department. Her colleagues respected her intelligence, but often felt intimidated or unheard. During one intense project review, a junior team member, David, timidly raised a concern about a technical constraint. Sarah, in her usual direct style, started to explain why his concern was already accounted for, detailing the solution. David quickly withdrew, his shoulder slumping. Later, I spoke with Sarah. "You presented your solution flawlessly," I told her. "But did you really hear David's concern?" She paused, reflecting. "I heard the words, yes, but I knew the answer." Perhaps, I suggested, he needed to feel heard more than he needed an answer right now. What if you'd asked, "David, I appreciate you bringing that up. Can you elaborate on your specific concern so I can fully understand it?" Then, after he finished, you could say, "I hear you, David. That's a valid point you've raised. We actually considered X, Y, and Z to address that, and here's how we plan to move forward." It's about creating that space first. Sarah took this to heart. In subsequent meetings, she visibly shifted. She practiced longer pauses, made more sustained eye contact when others spoke, and started asking, "What are your thoughts on this?" before offering her own. She began mirroring emotions. When a colleague expressed frustration, she'd say, "I can see this is frustrating for you. Tell me more." The change was remarkable. Her colleagues didn't just respect her, they started to trust her, to confide in her, and to collaborate with her more openly. Her command of the room grew exponentially, not by speaking more, but listening better. To integrate active listening and empathetic connection into your communication lifestyle.
The world isn't short of great talkers, but it's deeply lacking in deep listeners. Listeners hold a special place. They're not loud, yet people remember them. They don't seek to win, yet they earn trust. In communication, sometimes you don't need to say a word to be heard. You just need to listen to be remembered. Mastering active listening and empathetic connection, much like refining your speaking voice, requires consistent effort and self-awareness. It's a continuous process of training your attention, managing your internal dialogue, and cultivating genuine curiosity about others. The principles we've covered in this chapter, while seemingly simple, demand diligent practice to become second nature. In our next chapter, we will delve deeper into practice and feedback, the forge of eloquence. We'll explore actionable exercises and strategies to consistently refine both your speaking and listening skills, ensuring that every interaction you have is not just heard, but truly resonates and creates lasting impact. Because, as you've learned, your voice, whether speaking or listening, is your declaration of who you are, and it has the power to change everything. Chapter 8. Courageous Conversations, Delivering Truth with Respect and Boundaries. Welcome back to Command the Room, where we're mastering the art of impactful communication. In our last chapter, we delved into the critical skill of holding your ground when others try to shake you, maintaining your clarity and conviction even under pressure. We learned that true leadership isn't about avoiding resistance, but about standing solid in your truth, allowing your voice to be an anchor amidst the storm. Today, in Chapter 8, we build on that foundation by tackling one of the most challenging yet essential aspects of powerful communication: courageous conversations, delivering truth with respect and boundaries. These aren't just difficult talks, they are opportunities. Opportunities to foster deeper trust, prevent misunderstandings, and drive genuine growth, both for ourselves and for those we lead. Too often, we shy away from these conversations, fearing conflict or causing discomfort. But as we've learned, what you say is who you are, and avoiding necessary truths only dilutes your presence and erodes trust. The core of a courageous conversation lies in three pillars: delivering truth with clarity, upholding respect, and establishing firm boundaries. Let's unpack each one. The truth, when delivered poorly, can feel like a weapon, but when delivered with intention and clarity, it becomes a guide. Think about the times you've had to share bad news, give tough feedback, or address an uncomfortable reality. Our natural inclination might be to tiptoe around the issue, using what's often called the sandwich method: a positive, then the critique, then another positive. But as trial lawyer Jefferson Fisher points out, people often see it coming, and it can feel disingenuous, even painful, to wade through the fluff. Instead, leaders deliver truth directly. This doesn't mean being harsh, it means being honest about the conversation's nature. Start by acknowledging the difficulty. This isn't going to be a fun conversation, or I have some challenging news to share. Then pivot quickly to the truth. One powerful technique is to frame it with a vote of confidence. I'm telling you this because I know you can handle it, or I know you value transparency and that's why I'm being direct. This approach respects the other person's emotional resilience, preparing them for the message rather than patronizing them. Furthermore, when delivering truth, make sure your words are clear, concise, and strong. As we covered in Chapter 5, weak words are forgettable, strong words are remembered. Cut out filler words like like, I think maybe, or I'm not sure. These phrases silently apologize for your presence and undermine your message. Your voice doesn't need to be raised to convey weight. It needs to be steady, grounded, and purposeful. A confident tone, accompanied by thoughtful pauses, allows your words to land with impact, giving the listener space to process what you've said.
Another powerful strategy for delivering truth is to separate the person from the problem. When addressing an issue, whether it's poor performance or a conflict, focus on the objective situation rather than attacking the individual. Instead of saying, "Your presentation was terrible," try, "The presentation could benefit from a few changes." Or, as Jefferson Fisher advises, if you and a colleague are at odds, imagine the problem as an object in the middle of the table. "Come sit next to me," you say, "let's talk about this problem." This shift reframes the interaction from an adversarial confrontation to a collaborative problem-solving effort, making the truth easier to hear and accept. Courageous conversations often involve disagreement, but disagreement doesn't necessitate disrespect. True leadership means you can hold your ground without being aggressive. When someone challenges you or expresses a differing opinion, resist the urge to counterattack. Instead, respond with curiosity. Rather than asking, "Why did you say that?" which often puts people on the defensive, try, "What was going through your head when you said that?" Or, "What made you say this?" This open-ended approach invites understanding rather than judgment. Active listening is paramount here. Show that you genuinely heard and understood their perspective. Paraphrase what they've said. "So, what you're saying is," or, "I hear you, this setback is really weighing on you." This validates their feelings and creates a sense of psychological safety. Remember, people admire good speakers, but they trust good listeners. A well-placed pause after they speak also shows respect and thoughtfulness, allowing their message to settle and preventing you from blurting out an impulsive response. Even when dealing with individuals you might find difficult, choose kindness and maintain your standards. As our knowledge base suggests, don't argue with a fool because onlookers won't know the difference. Your behavior in these moments reflects not just on the conversation, but on your overall character. Be the person who models respect even if it's not reciprocated. Your focus isn't to change them, but to maintain your integrity and influence those around you who are observing the interaction. The third pillar of courageous conversations is the courageous act of setting and maintaining boundaries. This is where your inner strength and confidence truly shine. Boundaries are not about controlling others, they are about defining what you will and will not accept, communicating your standards, and protecting your well-being and the integrity of your relationships.
One common challenge is dealing with belittling remarks or disrespectful comments. When someone makes a hurtful comment, instead of reacting emotionally, Jefferson Fisher suggests a powerful tactic. Make them say it again. Simply state, "I need you to repeat that." This immediately shifts the spotlight onto them, forcing them to reevaluate their words and often taking the fun out of the insult. If they do repeat it, you can follow up with a question of intent. "Did you say that to hurt me?" Or, "Are you trying to embarrass me?" This directness dismantles their attempt to diminish you. For persistent disrespect, clearly state your boundaries. You might say, "That's below my standard for a response," or "I expect to be spoken to with respect." It's also crucial to establish consequences. As with the anecdote of setting a boundary with a grandfather, you might say, "If this is the way you're going to talk to people, I can't come with you." This is not a threat, but a clear statement of what will happen if the boundary is crossed. By pre-framing the desired outcome of a conversation, for example, "I'd like to talk about X and I want to walk away from this conversation knowing that this isn't a topic you'll bring up again in front of other people." You set clear expectations and protect future interactions. Remember, establishing boundaries is an act of self-respect and a clear declaration of who you are. Your verbal and nonverbal cues must align. If your words set a boundary, but your body language shrinks, the message will be lost. This confidence in setting boundaries is not innate. It's built through conscious repetition and choosing to speak up even when it feels uncomfortable. To master courageous conversations, you must practice them daily. Courageous conversations are the crucible in which genuine leadership is forged. By choosing to deliver truth with respect and boundaries, you not only strengthen your voice, but you also deepen your relationships and cultivate an environment of authenticity and clarity.
You become a voice that people not only listen to, but also trust and respect implicitly. As we move into our next chapter, we'll explore how these foundational skills translate into broader impact. Having mastered the art of individual connection through courageous conversations, Chapter 9 will guide us on building bridges, uniting teams, and inspiring collective action. Stay tuned to learn how to rally people towards a shared vision and amplify your influence far beyond any single conversation. You're not just speaking, you're leading.
Chapter 9. Inspire Action. The Art of Storytelling and Persuasive Influence. Welcome to Command the Room, where we're mastering the art of impactful communication. You've journeyed through understanding the mindset of a leader's voice, honed your vocal presence, learned the unspoken language of body cues, and embraced the power of clear, confident expression. You now know how to own every word, speak clearly, control your voice, use strong language, drop weak talk, hold your ground, and make your point without dragging it out. But what is all this mastery for? It's for this, to inspire action. In this pivotal Chapter 9, Inspire Action, the Art of Storytelling and Persuasive Influence, we move beyond simply being heard or understood to moving people to do. This is where your voice truly becomes a force for change, shifting mindsets, rallying teams, and driving real-world outcomes. Remember, as we learned earlier, people don't live by reasons alone, they live by emotion. And it's emotion, skillfully guided, that sparks action. You may recall from earlier discussions the fundamental truth that listeners don't judge you by what you know, but by how you express it. And a brilliant idea spoken hesitantly can lose its value. Conversely, a simple thought, delivered with confidence and clarity, can shift an entire room. Now let's add the ultimate amplifier, storytelling. While we touched upon crafting compelling narratives before, here we focus on stories that are purpose-built to inspire motion. Facts inform, but stories transform. Think about a time you heard a dry presentation filled with data points. Did you rush out to implement anything? Probably not. Now recall a powerful anecdote shared by a mentor or a leader. That story likely stuck with you, perhaps even changing your perspective or guiding a decision. That's because, as the knowledge base points out, people don't remember data, they remember emotion. They aren't moved by sharp logic the way they are drawn into a story, a space where they see themselves struggle, survive, and grow. A great speaker might make you nod, but a smart storyteller can make you change direction. Consider the leader of a small nonprofit tasked with raising funds for a new community initiative. They could present statistics on poverty rates or the dilapidated state of the local park. These are facts. But imagine instead they start with a story. Just last week, I met an 8-year-old girl named Maya. She dreams of being an astronomer, but her classroom is a dusty, unsafe playground, and her view of the stars is constantly obscured by flickering streetlights. Maya isn't just a statistic. She represents every child in our community whose potential is being dimmed by circumstances we can change. Imagine a park where Maya can safely play, where clear skies invite her to dream, and where her dreams can take root in fertile ground. That story doesn't just inform, it evokes empathy, paints a vivid picture, and makes the listener feel connected to Maya's future. It inspires action because it creates an emotional imperative. To craft stories that inspire action, consider the what next story arc. The relatable setup. The now. Introduce a challenge, a problem, or an aspiration that your audience can connect with on a human level. Make them see themselves, their struggles, or their hopes reflected in the narrative. The turning point, the shift. Describe the moment of realization, the decision made, or the obstacle overcome. This is where the lesson, the value, or the potential for change is revealed. This is where your clarity, your steady voice, and your authentic presence, cultivated in earlier chapters, become paramount. The unveiling of possibility, the future.
Show the positive outcome that resulted from the shift or the future that could result if action is taken. This is not about a perfect ending, but a tangible, desirable one that provides hope and direction. It flows through your feelings, carrying belief, hope, and certainty as Martin Luther King Jr.'s voice did. The call to action, the next. Directly or indirectly, invite your audience to take the next step. What do you want them to do? How can they contribute to that envisioned future? This is where storytelling smoothly transitions into persuasive influence. Keep your stories concise, under 2 minutes if possible, and always tie them back to your core message. They aren't just for entertainment. They are the guide, the invisible bridge between your intention and their action. Now, let's combine storytelling with the art of persuasive influence. True persuasion isn't about getting people to do what you want. It's the ability to help them voluntarily shift their mindset, attitude, or behavior without feeling manipulated. As the knowledge base emphasizes, the difference between pressure and influence lies here. One pushes with force, the other opens doors with finesse. This is the essence of masterful persuasion: clarity, sincerity, and focus leading to genuine collaboration. To inspire voluntary action, you must first make people feel heard and respected. Entering a conversation with the mindset of "I must win" is the fastest way to lose. Instead, adopt a collaborative approach. If you sense that you genuinely care about what they think, that you're open to understanding the reasons behind their resistance, you unlock their willingness to change without ever needing to push. Here are techniques for guiding towards invited action.
Forge relatability and shared vision. Instead of saying, "You're wrong," consider saying, "I used to think that way too." This phrase, drawn directly from our knowledge base, is incredibly powerful. It immediately lowers the walls and opens the mind by creating a sense of shared ground. From there, you can share the story or the experience that shifted your view, allowing them to feel like a companion on a journey, not an opponent in a debate. Then, paint a clear picture of a shared future, a vision where their contributions are vital and the benefits are mutual. This strategy grows our revenue by 20%, not just my or the company's. Future pacing with empathy. Help people envision the positive outcomes of the action you're suggesting. Don't just state the action, vividly describe the desirable future it unlocks. But do so with empathy, acknowledging potential discomfort or effort. I know taking this step will require extra effort up front, but imagine next year when we look back at the incredible growth we achieved because we dared to act today. Your steady, confident tone, honed through vocal mastery, will make this vision feel tangible and trustworthy. Proactive resistance management. Smart communicators anticipate objections and address them before they are even fully vocalized. Instead of waiting for a no, acknowledge potential concerns. I know some of you might be thinking about the immediate costs involved, and that's a valid concern. However, let's look at how this investment prevents much larger losses down the line and positions us for long-term stability. By doing this, you disarm potential resistance and demonstrate that you've thought deeply about the issue, showing respect for your audience's intelligence and concerns. The invited action framework. Structure your persuasive appeal not as a command, but as an invitation. Use open-ended questions that place the listener at the heart of the dialogue. Have you ever felt this way? Do you notice this happening to you? This might make your days feel less draining. When they feel that what you're offering benefits them, agreement becomes far more natural. Instead of "you must do X," try "what if we considered X to achieve Y?" Or "how might X impact your goals?" This gives them agency and ownership, leading to more sustainable action. The short, clear words and well-timed pauses you've practiced become critical here, allowing your invitation to sink in without feeling rushed or pushy.
The true power of inspiring action comes from the seamless integration of all the communication skills we've discussed. Your stories and persuasive appeals don't exist in a vacuum. They are amplified or diminished by your delivery. A deeply moving story loses its punch if delivered with a shaky, uncertain voice. A compelling call to action falls flat if accompanied by defensive body language or rushed speech. Think about how your vocal mastery weaves into this. Strategic pauses. After a powerful story or a key persuasive statement, silence can carry more impact than words. It forces the listener to think, to feel, and what the brain is forced to pause, it remembers. Use these pauses not as a sign of hesitation, but as a deliberate weapon to let your message sink in. Clarity and pace. Speaking a bit slower, not to fill time, but to allow the listener to keep up with your thinking, ensures your story's details are absorbed and your persuasive points are understood. Emphasis on key words guides attention like a guide pointing the way without needing to push. Tone and volume. Your voice doesn't just deliver information, it delivers emotion. A deeper, steady tone conveys certainty, while a gentler, warmer tone can build trust, especially when sharing vulnerable anecdotes. The right volume ensures presence without being overbearing, making your invitation to action feel genuine. And remember your body language. Eye contact. It forges connections, assuring your audience that you are truly present and believe in your message. Open gestures. They reinforce openness and honesty, making your stories more believable and your persuasive appeals more trustworthy. Grounded posture. A firm, steady stance radiates confidence and authority, providing a stable foundation for your message. When your speech, your eyes, your breath, and your energy all say the same thing, people can't help but believe you. They're not just listening with their ears, they're listening with their intuition, and intuition detects authenticity more clearly than any microphone ever could. This synergy transforms your communication into an unstoppable force for action. To begin integrating these skills, start small. Next time you share a story, pay conscious attention to your pauses and vocal emphasis. When you make a request, practice phrasing it as an invitation, maintaining open body language. The more you consciously combine these elements, the more naturally they will become part of your communicative identity. In this chapter, we've explored how storytelling ignites emotion and how ethical persuasion guides individuals towards voluntary action. You've learned that truly commanding a room means more than just being heard. It means inspiring people to move, to decide, and to act. It's about moving others not with noise, but with words that carry weight born from understanding, not the need to perform. Your voice, sharpened with clarity, structured with purpose, and grounded in authenticity, becomes the reason people believe in you and are inspired to follow.
The Leadership Legacy, Living Your Words, Leading Your Life. Welcome to Chapter 10, The Leadership Legacy, Living Your Words, Leading Your Life. Throughout Command the Room, we've explored how your voice is your most potent tool, a declaration of your thinking, capable of opening doors, creating change, and reshaping your standing in any conversation. From owning every word with confidence to speaking with rhythmic clarity, from dropping weak talk to holding your ground under pressure, we've sharpened your vocal signature, turning it into a force for undeniable influence. Now, as we reach the culmination of our journey, it's time to talk about the ultimate impact of this mastery, your leadership legacy. What does it mean to command a room? It's not just about a single powerful speech or a triumphant negotiation. It's about a consistent, undeniable presence that resonates long after you've left the room. Your true power doesn't come from sporadic brilliance. It comes from how you live your words and lead your life every single day. As the saying goes, what you say is who you are. This isn't just a clever phrase, it's a profound truth. People compress your entire personality into what they hear you say, and crucially, into whether your actions align with those words.
This chapter is about making that alignment your unwavering standard, transforming communication from a skill into a way of being. Think back to what we discussed in Chapter 1, confidence. We learned that confidence isn't about being loud or showing off. It's about standing behind your words and believing what you say. But there's a deeper layer to this. True, lasting confidence, the kind that forms the bedrock of a legacy, grows when your words and your actions match. If you say one thing and do another, people will see through it, and eventually you'll start doubting yourself too. You cannot talk like a leader if you are not living like one. People listen more to your example than your explanations, more to how you live than to what you say. Consider the story of a respected community leader. Let's call her Maria. Maria was known for her passionate speeches about community unity and support for local businesses. She consistently urged people to invest in our neighborhood, uplift our own. But her words would have rung hollow if her actions hadn't echoed them. Maria didn't just speak. She was often seen volunteering at local events, actively mentoring young entrepreneurs, and exclusively frequenting small shops in her town, even when it was less convenient. Her car displayed local business decals, and she spoke of her personal connections with shop owners with genuine pride. When Maria spoke, people didn't just hear words. They felt her unwavering commitment, her lived conviction. Her message wasn't just talk. It was who she was, what she stood for. That is living your words. This commitment to congruence isn't about being perfect. It's about unwavering effort. It's about honesty even when it's uncomfortable. In Chapter 6, Drop the Weak Talk and Speak with Real Strength, we explored cutting out disclaimers and softeners. This extends to your actions. Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't offer support you won't deliver. Every time your words and actions diverge, you erode trust. Every time they align, you fortify your foundation. Actionable step, the daily alignment check. At the end of each day, take a moment to reflect. What did I say today that was important? Did my actions, big or small, align with those words? Where might there have been a gap? And what can I do differently tomorrow to close it? This simple practice cultivates self-awareness and integrity, making your communication a natural extension of your character. Smart communication isn't a trick you pull out to impress others, we heard previously. It's not a skill you switch on only when stepping on stage or entering a high-stakes meeting. If you only use it when it benefits you, you're limiting your own influence. Because communication is not a performance. It is the continuous expression of your presence shaped by how you think, feel, and treat others in every ordinary moment. This is the essence of leading your life with power. Your leadership isn't confined to grand gestures or formal presentations. It permeates every casual conversation, email, feedback session, and crucially, every moment of silence. Remember Chapter 9, Speak to be remembered, not just to be heard? The goal was to leave a mark, to have your words echo in someone's decisions, to challenge their excuses, to remind them of what matters. This impact doesn't come from isolated events. It's the cumulative residue you leave in the minds of others. Consider how you listen, a skill we deeply explored. Deep listening is an act of profound respect and empathy. When you genuinely listen to someone, pausing, analyzing tone, sensing emotion, detecting what hasn't been said, you send a powerful message. I see you. I understand you. I'm here to connect. This unspoken empathy earns more respect and builds more loyalty than any sharp argument or impressive speech ever could. It's part of your legacy, a quiet form of power. Even in challenging moments, your presence leads. When handling difficult conversations, as discussed in Chapter 7, hold your ground when others try to shake you. Your ability to remain calm, controlled, and steady despite disagreement is paramount. It demonstrates inner strength, not just rhetorical skill. When your voice remains grounded, others feel a sense of safety and trust your leadership, not because you demanded it, but because your presence proved it. Actionable step: conscious communication in everyday life. Choose one everyday interaction, a conversation with a family member, a brief exchange with a colleague, even a comment on social media, and apply one principle from this book with conscious intention. Maybe it's a deliberate pause before responding, choosing strong verbs over weak ones, or asking an open-ended what question instead of a why. These small, consistent acts of conscious communication build the habit of ordered thinking and intentional presence, making leadership a natural part of your life. Throughout this audiobook, we've learned to speak with clarity, conviction, and purpose. We've understood that simplicity doesn't dilute depth, it amplifies it. We've learned that fillers are the silent enemies of confidence, and that well-timed silence can carry more impact than words. These aren't mere tactics, they are components of a profound communication philosophy that shapes not just what you achieve, but who you become, and ultimately what you leave behind. Think about the why behind your communication, a concept we touched upon in the introduction with Jefferson Fisher. What do I want people to say when I leave the room? For a lasting legacy, this question expands. What do I want people to feel about me and about themselves after encountering my voice? What enduring impact do I want my words and my life to have? A true leadership legacy isn't measured in accolades alone, but in the positive change you inspire, the trust you foster, and the clarity you bring to a noisy world. It's in the quiet awakening you spark in others, the feeling of being understood, the gentle reminder of their own potential. This is the quality that radiates from your very being when your communication becomes a lifestyle. Consider historical figures whose influence far outlived them. Martin Luther King Jr.'s "I Have a Dream" speech, as we noted, wasn't just about the words, but the rhythm, the cadence, the belief, hope, and certainty that flowed through his feelings. His voice became part of his identity, and that identity etched itself into history. His life, his actions, and his message were one, creating a legacy that continues to inspire generations. Actionable step: define your core values and communicate them. Take time to clearly articulate 3 to 5 core values that define who you are and who you aspire to be. Now consciously look for opportunities to embed these values into your daily communication. If integrity is a value, ensure your words are always truthful and your promises are kept. If empowerment is a value, ask more open-ended questions, encourage others' voices, and use phrases like, "I know you can handle this," to uplift them. Let these values be the filter through which every word you choose passes. Commanding the room is not a destination, it's a continuous journey of refinement. You've been given a blueprint, a powerful set of tools, and a clear understanding of how your voice shapes your world. The work doesn't end here, it begins anew each day. Remember Chapter 10's closing thoughts in the knowledge base. Train your voice daily until it leads naturally. You don't become powerful by accident, you become powerful on purpose. Continue to practice, reflect, and seek feedback. Record yourself, listen critically, and make those small adjustments that lead to significant growth. Embrace the discomfort of pushing beyond your communication comfort zone, knowing that every challenge is an opportunity to forge a stronger, clearer, more influential voice. Your voice is not just a tool, it is a declaration of your thinking, a mirror reflecting the clarity of your inner world, and the conduit through which you will build your enduring leadership legacy. Use it wisely, use it consciously, and use it from a place of genuine connection. You have the power to shape not just conversations, but cultures. You have the ability to inspire action, foster trust, and leave a profound impact on everyone you encounter. It all starts and ends with your voice and how consistently you choose to live the words you speak. Thank you for embarking on this journey with Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. Your voice, once a quiet echo, is now poised to lead with purpose, clarity, and an influence that will resonate for years to come. Go forth, live your words, lead your life, and command the room.
You've reached the end of Command the Room, Speak, Listen, and Lead with Power. But this isn't an ending. It's a new beginning for your voice, your influence, and your life. We embarked on a journey to understand that your voice is far more than just sound.
It is the direct expression of who you are, what you believe, and what you're capable of achieving. Throughout these chapters, we've uncovered essential truths. You've learned to sharpen your words with clarity, cutting away the weak talk and unnecessary fillers that dilute your message. You now know that structure isn't rigid, but the very skeleton that gives your ideas strength, making them memorable and impactful. You've embraced the power of presence, understanding that confidence isn't about being loud, but about being steady, grounded, and owning every single word you say. We dove deep into the art of listening, recognizing that true connection and trust are built not just by speaking, but by truly hearing others. You discovered that authenticity, speaking from your real experiences and values, creates a bond far stronger than any polished performance. And you've seen how strategic pauses, controlled tone, and compelling storytelling can transform a simple idea into a powerful movement, inspiring action without force or manipulation. The core promise of this audiobook has always been clear: to empower you to build a voice that commands respect, ignites action, and shapes decisions. Not through shouting, but through quiet authority. Not through impressing, but through impacting. Your voice is your leadership. It's the tool that opens doors, builds bridges, and ultimately creates the change you wish to see in your world. Now, the power lies in your hands. Don't wait for the grand stage or the high-stakes meeting to apply what you've learned. Practice these skills every single day. In a casual greeting, a quick email, a challenging conversation with a loved one. Each intentional word, each thoughtful pause, each moment of genuine listening is a step toward making your voice an undeniable force. Go forth and command your room. Let your voice be clear, purposeful, and true. Let it be a reflection of your sharpest thinking and your deepest values. Your words have the power to define your legacy. Speak well, listen deeply, and lead with power. The world is waiting to hear you.